Hello, everybody, and welcome to SNT Talk Football. This is the first ever episode on our channel. So today what we're going to be doing is previewing the 10th match day of the Premier League. Some interesting games there. The standout game for this weekend is Chelsea versus Tottenham. After that, we'll be talking about who we think are the 10 best fullbacks in the league at the moment. I think we'll see some interesting choices there. And moving on, finally, something I definitely think you should stick around for is the race for the Europa League. I think it's going to be pretty tight and probably tighter than the race for the Champions League. So yeah, definitely stick around for that. And without any further ado, let's get right into the first game of this match day, and that will be Crystal Palace versus Newcastle Friday, Saturday early morning, 1:30 a.m. IST. What are your thoughts on this game?
I think Newcastle, as well, I mentioned before, they've made a couple of good signings, Wilson and Fraser from Bournemouth, and they had a great start to the season. They hammered West Ham. I think they currently stand 15th on the table, which is not too great, and Palace stand 11th. You can see it on your screen, but Burnley, I think their first win of the season came against Palace. Palace performed very badly. I think Zaha is still out due to COVID, and we all know how important he is to them. Still, I feel, the schedule has been tight, but Newcastle, I think they have a lot of players to their squad is pretty strong. They have a lot of players they can rotate with. So I'm actually gonna say, in my opinion, I think Newcastle will win 2-1. I think mainly it's because the I feel Crystal Palace they do have good attacking players, but without Zaha, they just seem to miss something, as they clearly did against Burnley. It was 1-0. So I'm gonna say Newcastle will win this match. What do you think?
I think that Crystal Palace and Newcastle are both, they're very inconsistent teams because we saw at the start of the season, we saw Newcastle playing really well, 1-2-0 against West Ham, who have also started doing really well. The Premier League is looking very shaky at the moment. It's anyone's game. Palace also beat United 3-1 at Old Trafford. Zaha scored on that day. They've also made some new signings, like two come to mind when you think about Palace's signings this summer, and that's Eberechi Eze and Michi Batshuayi. Batshuayi was obviously on a loan at Palace earlier in his career. Eze is a really, really good player. He was really good in Championship, and he started to look really good for Palace as well. He scored his debut goal as a free kick against Leeds. Even Newcastle have made some good signings. They signed Jeff Hendrick from Burnley, Callum Wilson and Ryan Fraser from Bournemouth, which two players who played with each other before. That they will produce for you. They have done in the past. I think Callum Wilson has had a good start at Newcastle. Recently Joel Linton has been starting in his place, however, and I don't think that. I think that's purely, the a decision to rest Wilson because he's been their best striker this season, probably their best attacker as well. Joel Linton, a big money signing last season, he hasn't turned up just yet. So a, I'm gonna say a 1-1 draw, and this is assuming that Zaha gets back to fitness, because he's, as you've already mentioned, Zaha is a really good, really important part of the Palace attack. And I think if he's fit, they can really do some damage and possibly win. But if he's fit or if he's not fit, I will say I can see a 1-1 draw.
So our next match is Brighton Liverpool, Saturday 6 p.m. India time. So I'm going to start off of what I think about this one. Obviously, we know Liverpool lost to Atalanta in the Champions League, recently, Wednesday night. And I think, I'm not trying to be biased, but I think it's because Klopp decided to rest a lot of the Liverpool players. The schedule has been, because the league started in September, the schedule has been really compact. There have been matches every 2 days, and obviously the workload on players is very heavy. So I think Klopp, rested a lot of Liverpool's players. But obviously this isn't about Champions League. This is about the Premier League, and Liverpool will have a lot of fresh players. Obviously, Andy Robertson, I don't think he's missed a league or a Champions League game this season, maybe one. So he'll be fresh for the Brighton game, which is a huge boost. I think maybe even Thiago Alcantara. will be back for the game. Fabinho was also rested. Jota also came on, and Firmino as well as a sub. So I think Liverpool's squad is, for the first time in a long time, really fresh, and we saw their performance against Leicester, what their first team can do. I don't even think it's a question about this one. I'm gonna say 3-1 Liverpool, and also because Lamptey from Brighton, who's been really good the entire season, got sent off. He'll be missing the game, and he's been a great player for them. So I think 3-1 Liverpool, mainly because they have an amazing team, best team in the league, and so many of their players will be fresh for the first time. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I gotta agree with you that I think Liverpool will take the win. I remember that it happened like last night itself. Liverpool lost 2-0 to Atlanta at home, which is something we don't see really often. Liverpool losing at home, but I think the Champions League run is nothing compared to the Anfield run they have in the Premier League. But I think that Liverpool, they did rest a lot of their players against Atlanta, so I think that will. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and I think that will give them a bit of an edge over Brighton. Players like Firmino, Jota, especially their defense, not like defenders like Neco Williams. I think Neco played, but I think he's not gonna feature in the Brighton game. I think Milner right back is something we'll see again. I think yeah, Fabinho was rested, Robertson was rested. I think they only had three midfielders available for that game, which was Jones, Wijnaldum, and Milner. So I think that might be a bit of concern getting Thiago back to fitness because, you know, Thiago has been away for like 6 weeks now, and it was expected that he'd be back by the weekend after he sustained his injury. But there's not really any clarity on Thiago's injury situation currently because they keep telling us that he's going to play the next game and then he's not even in the squad. So it's really confusing at the moment. But I think if Thiago is back, especially if they have the ability to play Milner right back, because Neco Williams, he's a great talent for sure, but he's just not good enough as a player at the moment. I think if they can if they can get some players back to fitness, they rested a lot of players, but I think if they can get some players like Thiago, try to start front four with Firmino and Jota, one of those 4-2-3-1s as we saw them play against Sheffield. I think that that could do them the world of good. So I'm gonna say 2-0 Liverpool. I'm gonna predict goal scorers for this one. I think Jota's gonna score one. I think Salah's gonna score one. But yeah, let's move right on into our next game. It is Manchester City against Burnley. This is a game which last season was one of the title deciding games. A ball which went just over. Sorry, not last season, the 18-19 season. City scraped a 1-0 win against Burnley, who defended so well on the day. City scored a really scrappy goal and it just hardly crossed the line. We've seen Burnley do damage to City before, but not in recent times. And I really think that City will dominate this game. I think players like De Bruyne, Jesus, a new signing who's been really good in the Champions League, at least Ferran Torres, maybe even and Cancelo has been playing really well at left back. Kyle Walker, they've finally kind of sorted out their defense, but I still think that they've been inconsistent in the league. However, I do think they'll win this game 1-0. What are your thoughts?
Uh, I agree. I agree with what you said in the first place. Even games City lose, I think, how many ever games they've lost in, let's say, the past 3 years, they've always dominated. There's no question that they'll have all of the ball against Burnley. They'll have majority of the possession. I'm sure about it. Obviously, saw Burnley's first win of the season came against Crystal Palace a week ago. So I still think, obviously, Man City, they obviously lost against Tottenham, but then they won in the Champions League, and I think they've qualified for the knockout stages, which will give them a huge boost. And I've said this to many people before. City have a great squad, so they have the ability to protest. I'm not sorry, not what. Sorry, didn't mean that. They have the ability to rotate players, um, and we freshness is really important in this tight schedule. So I think it's going to be City 2-0.
I think we've both got similar predictions there. Let's move right on into our next game, which is Everton against Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds United. What are your thoughts on this game?
Everton have had a great season so far. Even though they stand sixth, it's better than their usual standards. They've signed James, Alan, Corey over the summer. They've been really good. Calvert Lewin is on fire right now, and everybody obviously for the first few games was raving about Leeds, and I agree. They played an extremely catchy style of football. They have a great manager, but they haven't been doing well. Recently, I think their defense has been a bit off point. Their team doesn't look in sync. So this is a tough one because a team like Leeds, players or manager like that, you expect them to bounce back after a bad run of games. But again, Leeds are just not going to walk over Everton. So this one, I'm actually going to go for 1-1 draw. Yeah, I think Bamford and I think James actually, but not Calvert Lewin. Bamford and James will score.
Okay, I think while I agree with a lot of the stuff you said, I think Everton and Leeds have both exceeded expectations. At least, then they're not doing as well as they could be, but they've definitely been better than they were last season. And Leeds just coming to the Prem, people expected them to go straight back down. I think they proved everyone wrong. It looks like they will be staying up for another year and some more after that. But it looks like that. It looks like it could. I think it could be a bit of a goal fest because Everton's defending recently has not been the best. But I also think that Leeds are a pretty good team. They've scored a lot of goals, but their defensive organization is close to none. So I think it could be a 3-2 win for Everton. I think Leeds Bamford could grab a few goals. I think Ben Godfrey is a defender who Everton acquired over the summer, and I think he's a good defender. I think he could also give them some support. But yeah, I think I'm going for a 3-2 Everton win, and that will take us right into our next game. West Brom versus Sheffield. Liz Mousset, Callum Robinson. Some players have played for both teams. What are your thoughts on this game?
Again, I think I know it's sort of the early relegation battle. The teams are both teams. West Brom are 19, Sheffield are last. They're not doing really well. Um, I, Sheffield did really well last season. Obviously, we didn't see West Brom in the Prem because they got promoted. But I think Sheffield still have, that quality in them. They signed Sanderberg. He's been great. So I think it's going to be a 2-0 Sheffield win. I'm not sure who'll score just yet, but I think Sheffield are going to win this one 2-0. Thoughts on this game?
I think that's a good prediction. I haven't really observed Sheffield this much this season because they're no longer the team they were last season. They are sitting 20th with only 1 point after like 9 games. I think they've played as well, maybe 8 games, but that's still really dreadful compared to how well they were playing last season. And I think I could see West Brom winning it because both teams have been pretty bad this season, and West Brom definitely everyone knew West Brom weren't going to, jump straight into a title challenging position. But I think that West Brom can beat Sheffield because Sheffield have been really horrendous as of late, and I can see Callum Robinson grabbing a goal or two, maybe. I think not whipping out any celebrations, but I think I'll go two for a 2-0 West Brom win. Yeah.
The opposite as me. So our next game that we're going to talk about is Southampton versus Man United. Uh, Man United have been in terrible form, which I'm super happy about. Southampton, on the other hand, have been great. I think they stand sixth right now. Oh, fifth. So Southampton have been doing really well. I'm not sure if Danny Ings will be back. I think if he is back, he's a really good player. He wasn't that great at Liverpool, but he's been shining at Southampton. I think if they have him, this is actually a tough one because I know all due respect, I'm going to say Southampton are still, I think, an average Premier League side. They're still not one of the best. Who knows? They could be in the future. But United, obviously, because their Champions League win, they've had a huge boost of confidence. So I'm actually going to say 2-1 to Manchester United. I think Rashford and Cavani will grab a goal, and I think this is a weird prediction where I think Kyle Walker Peters will get one for Southampton, pull one back, but I still think it won't be enough for Southampton to take points off United.
So from what we've seen, United have been really good in the Champions League, like they were in midweek. and everyone thinks it's going to be a boost, which it very well could be. But I can see at least a draw for Southampton because last time out while United were chasing Champions League football, Obafemi scored like a 96 minute winner, or sorry, equalizer to make the score 2-2 between Liverpool and between United and Southampton. And I think that it could very well go either way, but I'm going to go for a 2-all draw. I'm going to say Ward Prowse will score one and maybe Walcott will score one. Oh wait, no, I'm gonna say Che Adams will score one and Walcott will score one. And United, I don't really. I think Bruno will get one, and so will. I think Martial will finally get his Premier League goal for the season, open his account, and that will take us to our next game. We're going to come back to the Chelsea Spurs game at the end of the preview because that's obviously the biggest game which we want to talk the most about. So let's talk about Arsenal Wolves now. What do you think will happen in this game?
Wolves, since they've come into the Premier League, they've been really good. People expected them to get relegated the minute they came, and they've actually stayed. They fought for Europa League. I think they even got Europa League on season, and we Arsenal are, because of what they've done in the last 20, 30 years, their reputation has been so good that they have to be counted as one of the big teams. But you can see, I think Arteta has improved. I think Arteta has definitely improved Arsenal. There's no doubt about that. But I still think, Arsenal have had poor results in the last few games. They've not been playing well. They lost 3-0 to Villa at home. They drew with Leeds when they were they were definitely the second best team in that match. I am I actually think, you expect a team like Arsenal to bounce back after this. And I think, yeah, Wolves are a bit, they're okay in defense. So I think Arsenal will win 2-1. I think Aubameyang will grab one, and I think, I'm not sure about the other goal scorer, but I think Jimenez will net one for Wolves.
That's a bold prediction. I think something which could definitely happen. But I'm gonna say a one-all draw. I think both teams haven't been playing as well as they usually do. Wolves have grabbed quite a few draws this season. They've not been on their best form, conceding late on, conceded early on to Southampton and had to get an equalizer. Pedro Neto's been on great form. Arsenal not as good form. They following after, like Liverpool, got smashed by Aston Villa. I think they play in the Europa League tonight. They play on Thursday, whereas Wolves, they're well rested. Arsenal probably deputized a few starters in this game. So I'm gonna say a one-all draw again. I think there'll be quite a few one-all draws this weekend. And I'm gonna say Jimenez and Saka. So that'll take us to our next game for today, which is, for this match week, and it is Leicester City versus Fulham. And I'm going to say that it's going to be a 3-0 win for Leicester. I think pretty standard prediction. Vardy will get two, Harvey Barnes might get one. I think Fulham are nowhere near as good as they used to be when they beat the Juve in that thrilling Europa League tie. But I think that Leicester, the team they are, they did play really pretty badly against Liverpool. I think they'll bounce back with a 3-0 win against Fulham. What are your thoughts on this game?
Again, it's the standard answer. I think Leicester have been great all season. Again, all due respect, I think Fulham have been terrible. They're just not playing well. I know it's obviously not easy in the Premier League. It's a super competitive league, but I think Leicester will comfortably win. I'm going to say 3-1, 2 goals from Vardy, and I think Madison is going to get one. And I think I think Mitrovic might get one for Leicester. He's a good player when for Fulham. Sorry, he's a good player when he gets fed and he gets crosses into the box. So I'm going to say 3-1, a comfortable win for Leicester.
Moving on, let's go into our second last game for the weekend. West Ham versus Villa. Villa and West Ham have both been on really good form lately, which is what's going to make it so hard to decide who wins this game. As we can see here, West Ham beat Sheffield United 1-0 in their game this weekend. And however, Villa fell to a 2-1 defeat at Brighton. So I think based on form and from the games I've watched of West Ham, I think they could win I think they could grab a 1-0 win. I think they will. I think that will be like the first or second team to keep Villa out this season. And I think, yeah, I think uh, Kufal could get a goal. A bit of an odd choice, but I think he might score the decisive goal. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, Villa have been definitely going like they just escaped relegation last season, and they've been really good this season. Unfortunately, again, they're they're not a top class team. I don't expect them to keep these standards, and I think that loss against Brighton is the beginning of their fade. Still, their players are not demotivated. In fact, they're full of confidence. But I think West Ham have been really good this season, and I think West Ham are a really strong side, and I think they can win 2-0 against Aston Villa. I'm going to say, is Antonio back? Any news on that?
Let me get. I don't think he is back. We'll just go check on FPL.
But I'm
Not taking
I'm actually never mind Antonio. I'm going to say Bowen and Fornals grab the goals.
Antonio isn't back either, but so yeah, that will take us to the biggest game of this weekend, which is Spurs versus Chelsea, the London derby, white versus blue. And I think that Spurs have been on really, really, really good form this season. Mourinho is doing absolute wonders with them. They beat City 2-0, and it seems like Spurs are always beating City when City need to win most. And I really think that Spurs could win this game and could really be potential title challengers, because while Chelsea also they did win at Rennes, they conceded late on, and Mendy had to make quite a few saves. Mendy is finally a good reliable keeper. He's not among Alisson or Black Neuer, the elites, but I think Mendy is a reliable keeper. He's definitely better than Kepa, who is also a good keeper on his day, but he's just lacking a lot of confidence. So I'm gonna say a 2-0 win for Tottenham Hotspur. I'm gonna say Kane scores one and Son scores one, and they assist each other because they've been doing that all season. And I think we'll see a repeat of it again in this week's game. What do you think?
Oh, again, this is a really tight game. Two teams who have been on great form currently. Tottenham stand tied first with Liverpool, and I think Chelsea, yeah, they stand third with 18 points. They're 2 points behind Spurs. Chelsea, obviously, I feel like the signings have definitely paid off. Um, they've been in really good form the past few games. Chilwell, James, their defense has been great. Their midfield has been great. Their attack has been great. They rested Kai Havertz and Ziyech over the Champions League win against Rennes, so they are fresh again. We've said this so many times how important it is for a player to have good amount of rest, and I actually think while Spurs defended really well against Manchester City, they held on. I think they won't be able to keep out Chelsea. I'm going to say, I think Chelsea are going to win 2-1. I'm going to say Havertz and Timo Werner score, and I'm going to say Kane grabs a goal for Tottenham again. With this kind of game, you never know, but this is what I think about it.
So let's move right on into our next segment of today's episode, which is the top 10 fullbacks in the league. We both have our list in front of us at the moment. Do you have your list yet?
I do actually have my list. I have it ready.
So, do you want to start or should I?
You can start. Go on.
So, I'll go first. My top 10 fullbacks in the Premier League, not only this season but overall, I would say the first player would probably be Robertson, the best fullback in the league, because unlike he is very good going forward. Let's not take that away from him, but he unlike Trent, he is also very very good coming back. So I think Robertson, his ability to play both, to go attack and defend so well. I think he's the best defensive left back in the league. Maybe not the best defensive right back, but and he's also the best attacking left back. So I think that balance would kind of makes him the best fullback in the league, in my opinion. But yeah, who have you got in that number one spot?
I agree with you. I've got Andy Robertson. Again, it's not biased as a Liverpool fan. I just really he's just an amazing player. he's people don't see him as this, but he's a great leader. If they're young players breaking into the team, he can guide them in the defense. He's not the quickest, but he has a good pace actually. It's not like he's super fast, but he's definitely fast enough for the Premier League. He's definitely fit enough for the Premier League. His his energy has just his energy is just incredible. He has the fitness of a Premier League player. He has the pace of a Premier League player. He can play games and games on end and just run, and that's been so useful for Liverpool. And I'm gonna say, I think I put him ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold because I think he's a better all-round player. He's a better defender. I think he's also a better dribbler than Alexander-Arnold, and he's also a great crosser. So I put him ahead of Alexander Arnold because of his ability going back and his ability going forward, sorry, and his ability to defend.
So the players we have in second, who's the player you have in second?
So mine is again, as I said, Robertson, and my second, I'm gonna say Alexander Arnold. Again, no bias here. He's an amazing player. He's only 22. He established himself as the best right back at like only 20. So many people thought he was the best at that young age, and I just think he's incredible. He used to be a bit like Stick, but he muscled up. He's a physical player. Again, not super fast, but quick enough, definitely fit enough, and his technical ability is just amazing. He can take free kicks, he can take set pieces, he can take corners. His passing is another level. Is the way he switches the ball, the way he crosses the ball, the way he just puts passes through for Liverpool's forwards is just incredible. And that's the impact that has that those some of those passes could have won us leagues. It's won us Champions Leagues. It's won us Premier Leagues. And I think, such a young age, he has a long time left. He has a really bright future. I think he's an amazing player, and I'm going to put him as the second best fullback in the Premier League.
I agree with you that I think Trent is just behind Robertson purely because of how Robertson is a better defender than him. But let's not take away any of Trent's ability. He is possibly top two passers in the Premier League behind Kevin De Bruyne. He takes corners, free kicks, and he used to play in midfield as a young player, so he is adapting to a new right back role, and to be playing that well in a position which isn't even your natural position is just outstanding. And I think that he will definitely grow up to be one of Liverpool's best ever players. I think he'll be a one club man like Steven Gerrard himself. But yeah, with no further ado, let me just go into my third best fullback, which is actually Kyle Walker. I say Kyle Walker was the best right back in the league for a really long time until Trent came along. I think he's a brilliant defender, fast pace. He has a really deadly shot where he just smashes it from like just like far out, just kind of hammers it, drills it into the bottom left corner, which is like a Kyle Walker goal, a stereotype Kyle Walker goal. And I think he's a really good player. He's a Premier League proven player, and that's why he takes my number three spot. Who do you have in that spot?
Again, another one that we agree on. My third, I think, my my fullback, third best fullback in the Premier League is going to be Kyle Walker. I think again, like you said, he's proved himself in the Premier League. He's won titles with City. He's been part of their amazing team of the past few years. I think, one of his best abilities is his pace. His pace just it just it helps him so much in the Premier League. When you're such a fast player, you just fit into the Premier League. He's physical, and he's a good, he's an influence in the dressing room. He can guide new players in the defense. I think still we've seen a couple of defensive mistakes from him in the past few years, but I think he's defensively good. He has a good shot. He's a good dribbler. He's extremely fast. He's really tough to beat one on one, and that's why I'm going to put him third. So I think I'm going to say who I think is the fourth best fullback, and it's going to be Ben Chilwell. I know a lot of people won't agree, but he's proven himself not only for Chelsea but last season for Leicester. He's been amazing, and this season he's taken it up to a new level. He's been playing Champions League football. Chelsea are doing really well in their group, and that's why I'm just gonna put Chilwell fourth. I think he's he has a good shot. He's provide he you saw people might you might have seen his goal against Watford. He's a good crosser. He's incredible going forwards. That's one of the main aspects of being a Premier League. I mean, a modern day fullback now. He's defensively stable. He's yeah, and I think again he's fit enough to play in the Premier League, and that's why I think I'm really a big fan of Chilwell. I think he's a great player. That's why I'm going to put him fourth. Who is your number four?
So my number four, I've gone slightly different. I've gone with a player who played for Leicester last season, and he still plays for them this season. It is their very own Ricardo Pereira. I think Ricky P is a outstanding defender. He made quite a few tackles last season. I know Van Bissaka made more, but Ricardo Pereira also provides a lot more going forward. Again, it's that balance which gives him, which I'm going to say gives him that edge over Van Bissaka. I think Van Bissaka is also, he's dropped off a bit lately. Granted, Pereira has been injured, so we don't know how well he will be playing this season. But I think he's coming back into the team. He played his first game with the Leicester under 23 since coming back from the ACL injury. I think he's an outstanding player. I've always really highly rated Ricardo Pereira, and that's why he takes my number 4 position. But we've decided to cut it down to a top 5 list because top 10 would be a bit lengthy for you guys. No one must hear us telling you our opinions for 20 minutes. But yeah, let me tell you who I personally feel is the fifth best fullback in the league, and I've actually gone for Porto's ex-Porto player Alex Telles. He recently signed for United, and while he is not Premier League proven, I've seen him at Porto. I've seen him in the Champions League games. I've seen him in various competitions. I think he is an outstandingly good player. He's a really, really good crosser. Not as good defensively as he is going forward, but that doesn't really tell you how good he is defensively. I think he is a great signing for United, but he doesn't exactly fit their system, as because considering they have Van Bissaka as their other fullback. I think maybe he could adapt a deeper role now that Telles is there, allowing him to go forward. Definitely an upgrade on Luke Shaw, but I think Telles, great player, great cross of the ball, definitely top 10 crosses of the ball in the world. He can also take penalties, which isn't bad considering he's a United player. But yeah, that's who I've put as my fifth best fullback. A bit controversial, but I definitely think he'll prove me right in the future. Who have you got in that number 5 position?
Again, it's what some people say he's unproven, but I'm gonna say Sergio Reguilon from Spurs left back. He played last season for Sevilla on loan from Real Madrid. They won the Europa League, which is a big achievement. And I think any player who has once played for Real Madrid can potentially, their talent is probably really good. And that's the case with Sergio Reguilon. He's had a great start with Spurs, who are on fire. He's been a part of their starting 11. He's fast. He's a good dribbler. He's a good crosser of the ball. He has a good eye for the game. He has really good vision. He can pick out good passes. He's good too defensively. I've seen a couple of Spurs game. He does make a few mistakes going forward. He dribbles sometimes a bit too much, but his him overdoing things is not very common. He never puts a foot wrong. He he provides, something. Creativity is not really something you see as a fullback, but I think Regulon really has the ability to do that. He's given a couple of assists this season, and that's why I'm going to put him at fifth. So our next topic is who we will think will get the Europa League spot. So we've researched a little bit, and the fifth place of the Premier League gets Europa League, as well as the FA Cup and Carabao Cup winners. And we've decided that we've put ourselves in a hypothetical situation that, let's say, somebody who let's just say Liverpool get Champions League and Liverpool or Man City either win FA Cup and Carabao Cup. So there's only one spot for Europa League left, and that will be the team who comes fifth. So we have to decide which team we think could potentially get that Europa League spot, which who would finish fifth. So I think this can be really lengthy conversation. So who do you think?
I'm personally gonna say, I'm gonna say the reasons why I think some other. I'm gonna say who I think could make it, and I'm gonna tell you my final decision. So the teams standing out for me right now are Everton, Southampton, Man United. I think they won't make the Champions League positions considering how good Chelsea, Tottenham, City are just going. They're gonna get back to the Champions League because if they don't, that is going to be the most shocking thing that we've seen this season. I think definitely think Pep will get the sack then, but let's. I don't think that'll happen. I think Arsenal as well. They are Arsenal. They will. They've struggled a bit this season. They're on 13 points, but I think they are also contenders for that Europa League position. I put them fifth in my start of the season predictions. I think Wolves, West Ham. I think there are a lot of candidates we have here. Leeds, I think, a bit far fetched. So I'm going to bring it further down to my top three candidates. We have to include United because they are in a race for the Champions League. They could definitely be there in the Europa League, and it's almost certain that they will get fifth or sixth at least. But I think they are definitely one of the three definite teams to make it. I think Everton, the other team, they've been on stellar form this season. Carlo Ancelotti has made some really smart signings, playing a, he's dominating the midfield, which is something they didn't really do last season. And that level of midfield dominance is something which can bring a whole new aspect to any team's game. I think three midfielders who can win the ball back and progress is something which we don't see very often, and I think it's something which is really good for them. And the last team I'm going to narrow it down to is Southampton because I think Arsenal still a bit shaky on on after Arteta's appointment, even though that's it's long gone. I think he's not going to take them straight away. I don't think he'll take them to the Champions League straight away. I think that they might get the Champions League through a Europa League win, which is something we could definitely see. But I think that the team I'm going to go for that, the number five spot, considering the other two, if we could only choose one team to go to the Europa League, as he's already explained, I'm going to go with Man United. Man United, we just expect to see them in and around that position. I think Southampton and Everton both really good players, but yeah, I definitely think that it'll be United. They've got some good players in the team. Teres, as I've just mentioned, I'm a big fan of him. Rashford, Marcus Rashford, MBE. He's a good player and even better person. I think he could definitely make some difference for United, if not the difference. I think Bruno Fernandes, their best player since joining the club, definitely one of the key players in that system. They've got two not so reliable defenders, reliable centre backs. They've got Lindelof and Maguire. I think they both have on and off days, which is what makes them so inconsistent. But yeah, so I'm gonna say United take that one position. I think they've got good cavalry. They've signed Cavani, who's an experienced striker. If they need late goals, they need to get scrappy wins. He is the man to do it for them. I think yeah, so I definitely think that they'll be the ones to take that fifth spot. What about you?
So if I'm going to decide who I think will get this one Europa League spot, I'm going to say the four teams I think will make the Champions League spot, and that is Spurs, Chelsea, City, and Liverpool. And obviously, I'm not here to talk about why they will make the Champions League spot. I'm here to say the Europa League spot. So we leave out those teams, and I have four contenders who I think could get this fifth place spot. Um, Arsenal, Leicester, Everton, and Man United. Again, I said as T mentioned, Man United have been doing very badly in the Premier League, but still, that again, I don't want to sound biased as a Liverpool fan, but they're a really rich club, so obviously they've bought some really good players. They have that ability and quality in their squad. I just don't think it's been clicking. Still, they've been doing well in the Champions League. And then my other team, Arsenal, they have been playing. Their performances have been questionable recently, but again they just have the quality in their squad, and they were doing well in the beginning of the season. So I think definitely them. The other two, Leicester and Everton, both of them have been really good this season. They've been putting pressure. They've beat a couple of big teams themselves. And again, I think they both have some good players in their squad. Their teams are performing really well as a unit, not only individually. They have good managers who could take them all the way. And the reason I'm not saying teams like Villa, Leeds, Southampton, West Ham, Wolves is because their current form is really good. But again, if you have to look into the future, if you want to see the fifth place Europa League, you have to see, after they start fading, after they hit a run of bad games, I just don't expect them to come fifth ahead of these four teams. They're not stronger. And yeah, I think from these four teams, if I had to pick one, I would. This is just a really tough question. I'm going to actually dismiss Arsenal and dismiss Leicester, and I think I'm going to again agree with T and choose Man United because they're doing really badly. And I'm also partly saying this because I want to jinx it and I want them to like finish 20th. I want them to finish last. But they have their squad, their team seems to be assembling. It seems to be coming together a little bit piece by piece. And I think we've only been like what 9-10 games into the Premier League, obviously match weeks, not specific games. So I think there's definitely time for them to establish themselves. There's definitely time for them to hit a good streak of games and get that fifth place spot. So I agree. I'm going to say United are going to get the fifth place spot.
We've made we've made the same predictions a lot this episode, but I think it's all very reasonable what we said. Not too many crazy predictions from us this weekend, at least. You know what? I'm just going to change one of my predictions. I'm going to say Burnley 1-0 City. Come on, let's see what happens. But yeah, that's all we have prepared for our first ever episode. I think, hopefully, hopefully, you guys stick around for the next and, the ones to come after that. We will be back next week on Tuesday evening for our Champions League preview. But that's all we have for today. So thank you everyone for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed. But that's all we have for today. So we will see you next time. Peace.
Peace.